Mr. Crow is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dovetailing on Chairman Smith's comment, I just can't help but think back to my last deployment in Afghanistan in 2005. And there was a moment where I had been awake for several days, walking with a heavy rucksack in the mountains of Afghanistan, and wondering and asking myself, where was the debate? Why weren't people asking the questions then? Why weren't people paying attention? And I'm glad they are now, and I'm glad we are having this debate. But as Chairman Smith adequately pointed out, we could have been doing this a long time ago. 4 administrations, Republican and Democrat, 10 Congresses, Republican and Democrat. This is a 20-year conflict that our country owns. We have to have a broader discussion. It's not a 2-month conflict. And I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate the seriousness with which all 3 of you have dealt with this. So with that in mind, the fact that there are serious issues that have to be addressed, I have 2 lines of questioning. One about our continuing obligation to our partners, and the next about the planning in advance of the evacuation. Now, I want to start the partner question with a recognition that I believe firmly that all 3 of you share as deeply as I do a sense that we have a continuing obligation, because all 3 of you served, and I know that all 3 of you have friends who are still there. They have names and faces. So I'm not going to question your commitment to this. The department has a very narrow but important role going forward here. And that role is to provide employment verification to folks so they can be properly vetted and evacuated. That's very hard to do without boots on the ground now. So what can the department do more going forward, and what is the plan to do that employment verification, to get that paperwork in the hands of our friends so we can get them evacuated?
One of my undersecretaries is leading an effort to ensure that that we can help improve the process of employment verification. If you think back 20 years, ago, when people were actually helping us, helping contractors that were working for us, some of the documentation very, very difficult to get your hands on now. So we're working to see what we can do to improve this. We want to work with Congress to if there's any way that we can adjust requirements or adjust our ability to ease this process along, we certainly want to do that. But we're taking this on in a very serious way. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and we stand ready and willing to continue to work with you to solve this, because certainly our combat operations are over, but we have that continued obligation, as you have often noted. The last is about the evacuation planning. There were 2 tabletop rehearsals, one in June and one in August. The June 11th one dealt with processing of evacuees. These are interagency tabletop exercises that involve the Department of State. The August 6th one, my understanding, dealt with scenarios for both a permissive and a non-permissive NEO. So for the August 6th tabletop, the State Department was involved in that tabletop. Coming out of that tabletop exercise, did the department have, in your opinion, an adequate understanding as to the State Department's plan and role to conduct vetting and processing of evacuees at HKIA?
I believe they did, but I also urged State. I felt that by nature the Department of Defense can move very fast on issues like this. I felt that we were not completely aligned with State on that. There were still some things they could do faster, and I believe they tried their very best to address those, particularly in terms of providing additional processing power, if you will, to move people through the chain from the consular officers and other people to move them forward. State representatives took that message on board very seriously at the tabletop exercises.
So the lack of complete alignment, in your view, has to do with the processing power that was necessary to push forward on the ground.
There were probably other things. That was, from my perspective, as who was going to be responsible for identifying people getting them out of Afghanistan and getting them into the pipeline. That's what I was personally most concerned about. There were other issues. That was my principal concern.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Congressman Crowe, if I could just two other sessions before that, 28 April and 8 May. I think we owe you some answers for the
The
record.
gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Banks for 5 minutes.
Thank you.